if this for whatever reason, or just in general, if you're thinking about following your dreams, if you're thinking about starting your own business or starting your own creative endeavor, whatever it is, and you think, oh man, like I need to drop everything. I don't think I'm ready for. You don't need to. You can dip your toes into pretty much everything. You don't need to put up a lot of money. You don't need to put up a lot of time. It's fine.
Hi everybody, Kristen from IGO here, and today we are going to talk to Kevin from Smithy By. We're going to talk about artistic and game function inspirations behind this title, where they are in development, and some things that you might be able to expect as game features. If you would like to know more about their project, you can go to their website at smithybyday.com, smithybyday.com, or you can join them on their Discord channel where they will share updates about development and even some artistic inspiration. If you like these interviews, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Thank you. Goodbye.
Hey, how's it going?
Not too bad. How about you?
I'm doing great. Just got home, showered up, ready to go. So yeah, I'm doing great.
Awesome. Yeah, it's so nice to meet you. Thanks for coming and chatting today.
It's been fun prepping for this. So yeah, I'm excited.
Awesome. Yeah, I was checking out Smithy by Day. You had posted about it on Blue Sky a little bit, and I was like, oh, this looks like a very unique take on the genre. So I'm excited to see, the story behind your guys'
Sure.
development and what's going on with that. So yeah, can you tell me a little bit about Smithy by Day, about your company and the team you're working with?
Sure. So we'll start here. So we, and by we I mean I, wrote 2 articles to promote the game, whatnot, and they were both profiles on 2 of our employees. And basically, the thing that ties us all around is kind of that we all had like fine jobs. We pursued our hobbies and whatnot, and we're all creative minds. And kind of all of us eventually said, you know what, I want to do my own thing. I want to be able to create something, and kind of like the situation I'm in right now doesn't lend itself to do that. Right now, we have 4 people. Jodapan has been super passionate and super desperate to start his own thing. He's been trying to push off any type of business he can. He has that programming background as well. So he's been really passionate about that. I've worked with him in the past, and I super love working with him. He is our lead developer, so lead programming, essentially. He does 99% of the programming and taught me. I don't have a background in coding or programming at all. He has a proper degree in it. So he taught me some basics. I help him out, give him a few ideas. But me personally, I'm lead designer. I do the design and community management of Smithy by Day, and I do about like 70% of the design. But I feel like it's super, super important to have someone to bounce ideas off of. I know you asked me this before, and I said something along the lines of, even if it's not like, you don't necessarily need to have a business partner, but to have like either a close friend or family member or like mentor someone to bounce ideas off of, and to give that kind of push and pull, and to have them say both, yeah, this is a great idea, and also, oh, maybe either maybe change that, or maybe you're not living up to your potential. And that's definitely something I felt with Jodapan, is a lot of like, oh, I come up with a design and says, yeah, but we can do better. We can do more. I'm like, all right, awesome. To the moon. Let's do it, man. We also we have an artist, Naya Nautical Sorbet. She has her own art company. She primarily does like stickers and posters and stuff, but she's also done some 2D art for games, some concept art, stuff like that. And she also has a degree it's partially related to doing like a 3D graphics, 3D modeling, that type of thing. And I don't know if it's explicitly in Unreal, but she has a bunch of fancy programs. So same story with her, kind of like she was like happy enough with her job, but eventually like kind of tried to pursue art part-time, and then eventually just decided to do full-time with art. We're super lucky to have her. I super enjoy working with her. And finally, we also have an unnamed person who kind of just consulting for us. She does project management, so she just helps with the project management. And I'll just say something else that we'll be announcing soon, probably within the next few months. That's about a bit about our team. I can also go into SBD itself or wherever you want to go with this.
Sure, yeah. So thank you for sharing because I find in indie games that the team really makes a huge difference. They really are the core of the story, they're the core of the design, and I think personal life experience plays such a significant role in how a game ends, the end result product that people
Yeah.
get, right? So it's really cool to see what everybody's working on. And yeah, I really liked your blog post that kind of showcased their work. And it sounds like you've got this shared interest of wanting to create something that is your own, that's not owned by anybody else, it's not controlled by anybody else, it's not operated by anybody else, which I totally understand, especially in the modern era. Yeah, for
Sure.
sure. So I'm curious, what motivated you guys to be creating Smithy by Day? I like the very unique take of I am a blacksmith, but also I do this other thing. I do this sort of exploration. So yeah, what's kind of some of your inspiration behind Smithy?
Sure. So originally, we planned on doing something along the lines of a combination of Vampire Survivors and Slay the Spire. So basically, you go into a room, you fight like 3 enemies surround you, you fight them, you get like a reward at the end, and you keep going up the spire, down the dungeon, that type of thing. The only change is kind of making it 3D instead of like 2D or 2.5D like Vampire Survivors. A really similar game to that is actually called Roguelite, but who I like to shout out. Go wishlist them. They have a demo out now. Very cool. Within a few weeks of that, for a variety of reasons that are too long to get into, we ended up dropping that. And kind of one of the big reasons for that is neither of us were really passionate about it. The game idea was kind of like a shower thought, a deeply researched. We should really look into this. It was kind of like, oh, like this plus like, oh, we can add like a Slay the Spire mechanic to like Vampire Survivors, perfect, and we just went with it. So that got dropped within a few weeks. And then I believe July 1st of last year, I said, hey, what if we do something like I have a big passion for blacksmithing games because I feel that's a pretty underserved market. And I said, all right, what about blacksmithing, but like Dave the Diver's restaurant management? And I come from a card game background, so my mechanics horrible. Like my micro, like I'm bad at shooters, I'm bad at League of Legends, but like if you put me in front of a card game, like I used to be great at Hearthstone, pretty good at TFT. I'm playing a lot of Magic the Gathering Arena right now. If I can take my time and think, I really like that. So games like The Last Spell, for example, is like the perfect game for me. I have a ton of decisions to do. I personally like simmy games more. I wanted to do like something that can add a little bit of challenge to you. We're not trying to make it like a super hardcore, like again, Last Spell type thing where it's like escalating, you have like ascensions, that type of thing, but it's still kind of like a challenge, or it still has challenging aspects. So I described it to you kind of like people who play Minecraft, but like who like the survival aspect of Minecraft as well. They don't want to be safe 100% of the time. They don't want to have the obvious decision in front of them 100% of the time, that type of thing. So we settled kind of on that. So kind of like style like Papa's Pizzeria, Diner Dash, Dave the Diver's restaurant management. That's the simmy part of it. And then also we have a resource gathering aspect, kind of like caving in Stardew Valley. And that we haven't announced much yet, but yeah, we're really excited to be working on that. I don't know what other inspirations. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Kind of, I like turn-based. It's going to be mostly turn-based, and we're fiddling around with the resource gathering as well. And that a lot more announcements coming on that soon. TM. I don't have a timeline for that yet.
Sure, yeah, I can understand if when you've got day jobs and other stuff that's going on, it totally makes sense to like,
I should clarify that, by the way. Naya and I are working on this part-time, but Jodapom, the absolute mad lad, has dropped everything and he's doing this full-time, like 30 plus hours a week. Yeah, he's insane. Again, love working with him. I'm super happy. I'm super happy with it. So yeah, we have one full-time, just him, 2 part-time, and 1 consultant. So that's kind of the makeup and division of labor of our team. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, no, it's good that somebody's there that's kind of at the helm, making sure that
Yeah.
stuff's getting ticked off. Yeah, I can totally understand. No, and that actually kind of answers one of the questions that I had about mechanics. So it sounds like a lot of the inspiration that you had also has influenced the mechanics of the game, exactly what
Mhm.
you want somebody to achieve. You mentioned like Dave Diver, and something I love about that game is that it's almost like its own sort of third space. We have every single thing has to be managed, but it's sort of in this
Mhm.
like unique sort of territory. You have unique tasks in each area and aspect of the game. So actually, that I'm curious, and you don't have to reveal anything that's
Sure, sure.
below the curtain, of course. I'm kind of curious how your team has gone about resource management, or not resource management. Let me rephrase. How the team has gone about balancing tasks. Like, how do you
Okay.
handle testing to make sure that the game feels balanced?
Sure, perfect. I want to touch one more second on Dave Diver, then I think I've said everything that needs to be said about the game. One thing that you jogged my memory on, and that I super appreciate about the game, is if you want to get like most of your fish from diving, you can do that. Upgrade your stuff, get a bunch of fish there. That's fine. Or you can also like just constantly skip and just do your fish farm as well. And you can do that as well. You can focus more on the restaurant management side or focus more on the farming side, or just do like a mix of all three. Main critique and the main pushback I give my community is a lot of people, and I want to say we've published like maybe 5 seconds of video clips from SBD, and like the main thing people say still is, hey, like we're concerned about mini games. Like you'll make great mini games. We're not concerned about that. What we're concerned about is like doing it like the first 5th, 10th, 50th time, fine. But after like the 100th time, it might get repetitive. So we're trying to balance that, but also balance not being able to automate away pretty much everything like you can in Dave the Diver's restaurant management. You can technically automate like every single micro game in that. So we want to balance those two things, but to more like actual balance overall of like how the numbers feel and stuff. That was the thing I needed to look up. Like I said, I don't have a programming background, and Joe DePon does, and he has a proper degree, like I said, and he have a community management background, and so I'm a big believer. Do a lot of testing, gather a lot of feedback, that type of stuff, and then he has his testing. We'll say philosophy is do a lot of testing beforehand as well, and I was super skeptical of this for like 2 days, and then I tried it out, and oh my god, my life changed. For all developers, all aspiring developers, if you have the right game, like maybe not if it's a shooter like a racing game, but if you have like a turn-based game, if you have like a simi game, even if it's not turn-based, you can kind of test like enemy values and stuff. Make a board game, put it on paper. It doesn't need to look good. You can even do it like on tabletop simulator. You can do it pen and paper, whatever you want. Test it over the board. We did so much testing over the board, and we continue to test over the board. And I want to shout out the textbook, Tabletop Game Design for Video Game Designers. It is a fantastic book. It gives you a lot of insight into the reasons for doing this, but not just for efficiency's sake, because obviously, like, hey, I can just like write, okay, this thing is a 10, and like I can just like roll a die. I don't need to like program anything for a few days. It's obviously much more efficient to do this, but also it gets you thinking. It gets you to break down the core mechanics of the game. So I am personally, and from I have a little bit of video game background as well. I used to work for we'll just say a couple of small indie devs and just keep it at that. But a big piece of feedback I got was like, hey, is the tutorial too good, too easy, too hard? Does it explain stuff right? That so I'm a big believer in tutorial stuff, but for like board games, the tutorial is very important. But I know like, hey, I don't need to worry about like the UI for a board game. I just know this is the core piece of information, and I can write it down in a rule book like, hey, this is how you do it, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Awesome. And if there's ever a question, like I did a lot of testing with my fiance, if she ever asks a question, oh, perfect, I can write that down, boom, add it to the rule book, no problem. And I don't need to worry about like making the UI look fancy. And I can break down, player is focusing a lot on this, or like, I've now had to explain the same thing 3 times. This might be a really core thing. This might be something to really focus on. Kind of tie this all together, get a lot of community feedback. We have an internal and somewhat external model as well that we're going to do unprecedented levels of testing, unprecedented levels of gathering community feedback. Try to be as humble as possible. We've had to scrap a lot of ideas, modify a lot of ideas as well. I briefly hinted at the system that I just announced last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever, tarot card system that heavily reworked our mini games, and we can go into that if you want. But I guess, so a lot of testing, a lot of gathering of community feedback, and also being humble, not having a big ego, not being stuck to an idea. And sometimes it's okay. Sometimes you just put something in the game because you think it's cool, and that's fine, and most players don't like it, and that's fine. But you don't want to get into the habit of doing that. And I immediately, when you said something along the lines of, oh, I understand the impulse of making something that isn't beholden to anyone, isn't like no one controls you or whatever, I immediately wanted to jump in. My instinct was, okay, yes, but the community still, like, we're still beholden to our community. So you still want to listen to your community and know, like, almost all of the time, you need to go with your community. You need to understand and have like a good sense of what people are going to like, what people aren't going to like. I know you asked me like what you think our core audience is going to be, and we can go into that as well. So a lot of decisions focus on that. And then still, like I said, we still keep to our vision and we still heavily stick to that. And so, like, for example, like I said, with the mini games, people said, hey, like, we want something to automate the mini games. And I said, listen, that's awesome, but we want to make something where you're not automating a majority of them. Maybe you're automating like a third of them, you're automating part of it, but we still want you to heavily engage with this system. And so, pros and cons to that. If you could automate it away, we could spend less time on that, but now we need to spend a lot of time balancing it and making it feel good, but that's still something we stick to our vision. So I wish I had better advice other than like use your best judgment and just be good at figuring out what's important to listen to the community and what's not. But yeah, something like that.
Sure. Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And I think that touches on something that I'm really enjoying about the indie game scene in the last years and definitely moving forward is that community participation has become such a critical element of new games. And I love that every single game, it seems like that I watched a ton of trailers, played a ton of demos during Next Fest, and every single company has their own Discord. And I noticed that me as well, fans love to participate in the storytelling of the games that they like, and they want to be part of the community. So having that level of feedback where, you can get immediate information about what somebody likes and, what they're enjoying, what kind of mechanics they enjoy. I think at least illustrating that somebody's listening, for me as a player, that definitely resonates. Like, oh, they actually did hear what I had to say. Because don't get me wrong, I play some AAA games, but there's no way, anybody's ever going to take my, my thoughts into consideration. So
Yeah,
I think that's
I never want to have my community management role be more of a PR role. I never want to make people feel heard. I want to like show them that they're actually being heard for sure.
Yeah. Oh, well said. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Community management and PR definitely view as very different tasks. Yeah, very different roles.
Well, like, yeah, but the bigger you, and I don't have experience with AAA, but it seems like the bigger you get, the more community management becomes more of a PR thing because the more disconnected it is from the day to day. And I feel that such a big part of community management is gathering feedback. And if you're gathering feedback and like the devs aren't listening, like your job is just becomes like, yeah, we've heard you. See, like I made like 20 Jira tickets to do this thing. I don't know. We're on it, I guess, maybe. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's so true. That's really well said. I think about some of the big titles that have become kind of controversial even. And I'm like, I can't even imagine what, community management looks like for those guys. So yeah, there's definitely benefits to having, a very niche community that's really into what you're doing. So I'm super glad to hear that that's a big part, and I'll definitely be lurking in the Discord, seeing what you guys
Appreciate
are
that.
up to. Yeah, and we actually kind of touched on a little bit on my next question. And again, kind of whatever's just free to share. I don't want to
Sure,
dig
sure,
into
sure.
anything that's secretive or shan't be released. But you touched a little bit on the artistic style. I had mentioned the artist that was working on your game, and I'm kind of curious how you guys are going about combining this narrative that's being structured, these game mechanics that are being structured with visual style. How are those things kind of overlapping?
I think to answer that, I'm going to jump ahead a question real quick.
Hmm.
And you asked like what our audience is, and I hinted at that earlier in the conversation as well. And a big chunk of our audience, we'll say somewhere around 50% plus of our perceived, we'll call it target audience, and I'll distinguish between target audience and maybe like overall audience if I remember to do this, is kind of like cozy gamers that still want a little bit of a challenge. I said to you internally, we nicely called them medium beans. So like a small bean would be someone that just wants like a cozy game, like plays Stardew Valley but doesn't want to do caving, just does like talks to people and just does the farming and stuff. A medium bean to us means someone who kind of like wants a little bit of pushback, can go into like the cave in Stardew Valley, does maybe want to interact a little bit, maybe has like some consequences associated, but doesn't permadeath, doesn't want like, oh no, I lost all my loot, oh no, like they took my entire like blacksmith away or something like that. So with like some version of cozy gamers, we want the art style, especially interior design, the smithy itself, to be cozy, to not be like I mentioned like Papa's Pizzeria, for example. I've never played Overcooked, but I've seen a few videos on it. We don't want like, oh no, something's on fire, put it out. Oh no, like I said last spell, we don't want like people like encroaching, like, oh no, it's claustrophobic. We want it to feel like cozy. You still have a challenge, but you can still relax, look around the smithy, that type of thing. The caving might have a little bit of a different art style as well, because that's not going to be turn-based. You're going to like properly like WASD or click around, and it's going to be real time. So maybe that is going to be a little less cozy, a little more like kind of that cave style, a little bit of sense of danger in that. I also wanted to say, lead designer, I don't have I am so bad at like proper art. My background is in writing and journalism. So like I can put things on paper, I can put things on MS Paint and say like square one goes to square two, and I have a big background in automation games. So I can say like, oh, you take like the iron ore and the coal, that becomes a steel, then you heat up the steel and then you put it in the ascent. I can like diagram all this out. If you tell me like, oh yeah, like how should our mage look? That was so many arguments, and I finally just said, what are y'all's ideas? And I said, all right, perfect, let me run with that. And then like after they gave me their ideas, like within 30 minutes, we had some great ideas. I added a few things on that. So that's mostly Naya and Jotapon's department, kind of like that. And I've been super blown away with what they've come up with and what Naya especially has come up with. And I think also we haven't shown much of our 3D models yet, because that's super work in progress. But maybe some 3D models coming out soon. But that's super work in progress right now. But we've shown a lot of like concept art, and we've kind of gone from like chibi to a little bit less chibi, more realistic, and kind of trying to at least show players the feeling we want to give off. And especially like the concept art of the smithy itself, I think it really shows kind of how we want the feel to be. And there was an awesome point I wanted to like wrap this all up with. But yeah, basically, long story short, smithy is going to be cozy. Maybe the caving might have a little bit of a different art direction. I don't have much input in this. I'm just reporting the news on this one, basically, and I've been super happy with what we've come up with so far.
Awesome. Yeah, I saw some of the concept work that's been, I think you mentioned Naya was her name, and
Mhm.
it's truly beautiful. Like it's really cool stuff. And you did mention that she's been working on sticker design, and I can
Mhm.
definitely see that influence as well.
Oh,
And
awesome.
in my
Yeah.
mind, I have already bookmarked. I'm like, I gotta get some of those. I saw
Yeah,
some of
listen,
the like
nauticalsorbet.com. Go, go, go. We
I'm
should
gonna
have a
do
commission. I should have a commission somewhere, but I don't. But hey, she does great stuff. But yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah, it was really beautiful. I was like, "Ooh, I want one of those," because it's something that, as I think I am kind of your target audience, because I play Stardew Valley just to have like control of something in my life, right? I go in there, I can water my crops, I can do what I gotta do, but I do love that caving element, and I've noticed that some of the people that I will meet up with on Discord for like cozy game night, they're like, "Oh, you're fighting slimes? Look at them! I will cut the slimes." So I like this combination of being able to choose what moments you want to have a little bit of rest and manage all your stuff. But if you want a little bit of just a little bit of something spicy, you can go out and do, button mash and cut
Exactly.
somebody, cut
Exactly.
enemies. So
Exactly. Yeah.
it sounds really cool. So I'm really excited to see how that turns out. I'm excited to see your 3D models as well because yeah, I think actually, I think all of the games that I can think of in this sort of realm are all 2D. Going to be very cool to see this in 3 dimensions. So I'm curious also, you mentioned that, there is this person that's really focused on the code. Kind of curious, like with code, maybe with art, maybe with even storytelling, are there any major obstacles that the team has had to overcome? What kind of problems have you run into?
I think I'll say overall, the biggest thing we run into is most people will know this as like feature creep, but I think a more accurate term for this is like scope, where feature creep is like stuff you want to implement and like adding stuff. Scope is like overall, oh, like you already understand like what SPD basically is. Oh, what if we made it like an MMORPG as well? Or like what if we just added a completely new feature or something like that? So I said earlier, have someone to bounce ideas off of, even if they're not in your field or something. I think the con to that, or I think instead of a con, maybe something to keep in mind as well, and like a potential shortfall is if you're bouncing ideas off of someone, you're going to get a lot of ideas, and it's going to become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And especially, I don't know the amount of times he said, "Oh no!" Every time I add a new, every time I say we should add this or something, or I put something in our Jira or something. He's like, no, this is gonna take so long to program. But yes, I think the biggest overall obstacle, like I said, that feature creep scope thing, and I think specifically for the smithy part of the game, the blacksmithing part, we've kind of at the end of the scope, at least pre 1.0. We've kind of got all the features together. Maybe we're finishing up the MVP, that being like everything has like a base level of functionality. You click the square on the furnace, something pops out. All right, great. We can make that look pretty. We can make that a little bit deeper, whatever. That's fine. And so we're at about the right amount of depth for that. So like how deep into trying to not define deep with deep, how much you can go into crafting the sword, how many different types of metal, or how many different like effects and different features you can have. But we're done with the depth, which we're kind of at the end at. We're going to go a lot wider, add different metals, add different stations, that type of thing. And so to kind of get back to your original question and to give you a specific example, is the mini games I talked about that we've kind of revamped. Our original idea was I wanted to have a game where the mini games didn't feel like, okay, cool, and then like it's either a micro game that's just kind of like busy work for 5 seconds, that's like a small skill check that you master after like 2 hours of playing. And I didn't want it to be something that you want to automate away or something like that. I wanted to have a really engaging mini game. And so what we've discovered through through programming is it turns out that if you want it, either we would make SPD really small because we don't want this to be a 5-year project. We want this to be shorter than 5 years is all I can say right now. We don't want this to be like a super long quest. and then like release an early access and be like another many years in EA. But we also don't want this to be super small. We don't want it to just be like furnace, assembly table, sharpening wheel, and anvil, and then like maybe one or two other stations. So we decided was to implement the tarot card system, and basically we'll just give a brief overview. Just imagine one overarching mini game, and we'll call this, instead of a mini game, more of like a side game. So like the feel of maybe like playing Gwent in The Witcher 3, or like the Seahorse game in Dave Diver, kind of that thing, where you're still going around collecting stuff, and then you're playing like a proper side game. Maybe instead of like a whole game of Gwent, you're playing like one round of Gwent, like one like attack cycle. I don't remember exactly how the game works, or like one singular battle in Slay the Spire instead of like going all the way up for one act. It's like an overarching mini game, side game. And what this allows us to do is, if we were to have, like, let's say 8 stations, for example, we've calculated that at the very least, to do discrete mini games for a station would take 1 week, but we're probably looking at 2+ weeks for each station. So if we wanted to have like 8 stations, that's 16 weeks of development just making mini games. We're not balancing it. We're not doing anything. We're not testing it. We 16 weeks of development time at minimum. But you know, in tech, everything is like super underestimated and going to take twice as long. But let's just say 16 to 20 weeks right there. Instead, what we've done is we have this overarching tarot card system. And what this allows us to do is we can plop this on any station we want. And maybe if you're like, I don't want to reveal that. Let's just say instead, maybe you're crafting like handles, right? Maybe the handle crafting doesn't need a mini game. It doesn't need like a tarot card thing or anything. It's just like a timed activity that one of your 3 characters, right now we envision like maybe the rogue does this, or maybe he does like some other woodworking stuff, or something like that. And then also for like a sword, like we have all the stations, like you go anvil, tarot card, assembly table, tarot card, sharpening wheel, tarot card, boom, great. What this also allows us to do is we can go a little bit more deep as well. We can go a lot more wide, give a lot more stations. But what I told you in the written part is, what if we wanted to add something like armor? That would be really hard to have another new set of functionality to the game. And what if specifically chainmail, for example? What are the implications of that? What would the mini games look like for that? Do you hammering every single 500 like rings of chain rings, hammer, and do that 500 times? Are you only going to do it 5 times? Are you not going to have a mini game at all? Would that like feel really weird? And then like, do we need to also add like not for chainmail but for like plate armor? Do we need to add like a leather station and have a mini game for that? And so we don't want to take away or like completely gatekeep ourselves from features just because, oh no, we want to add armor. Well, 3 more months of development time just to add armor, or something where we can just like kind of zap in. Okay, you know what? Now an iron ingot, it also can make like a plate or something, and that plate, you do the same process. Maybe we add a armor station, and instead of like the assembly table, now you have an armor station, and all you need to do, program armor station, do a little UI for it, and have tarot cards in it. Boom, you're done. So I guess, yeah, we figuring out creative ways to work around our big ideas as well. And also, I think last thing on the mini games specifically is this doesn't preclude us from doing mini games. So for example, if we wanted to, like I said, Sword has 4 stations until it's done with production. Maybe we wanted to have a mini game just on like the furnace or something, or like you only have like for the 4 stations, you have the furnace, nothing happens, you're just like timing it to make sure the iron is heated as hot as it needs to be. Then the anvil has a mini game, and then you do tarot cards for the next 2. Maybe every station now has a mini game. Like after 1.0, we do mini games on every station as well. Maybe some things have tarot cards, like the base for like the sword, but like enchanting it has a mini game instead of a tarot card, because we've already balanced the game to just be three tarot card interactions, so it'll be really difficult to balance it. But if we have like a mini game or something, we can add that in as well. So mini games are on the back burner now. We've We're doing tarot cards. Tarot cards are awesome. We're super excited about that. And to overall answer your question, I guess, managing our scope, managing our ambitions to get something that we're not like super hard-headed. It needs to be this way. We're going to make mini games. We're going to do it exactly like this. And then it turns out bad, or we go down the rabbit hole of like players don't like it or players want more. And now we say, all right, cool, guys, we'll see you in 6 months or something, and not be able to have that flexibility. Touch on something super tangential, and then I'll hand control back of the conversation to you. To touch on super tangential that like I brain blasted right before this interview that I just remembered is our two core audiences, like I said, the medium beans, and also people who really like a slow drip of RNG. People that aren't like opening pack, like slamming cases or loot boxes. Someone who's like Slay the Spire player who like wants a battle. Oh, now I get 3 cards after this battle, or like I defeat a monster. Oh, loot dropped, and like, oh, there's shiny loot or something. Someone who can wait like maybe like 30, 60 seconds for a reward, right? These are our target audiences, like I said. But someone outside of our target audience that we've found, and this is kind of my thesis as well, is we're probably going to have a larger female audience than most Steam games. And now what does that mean? That could be the difference between like 5% female to like 15% for SBD. It could be like 40% female. I don't know. We just know it's going to be more than average, but not so much that we're going to be directly targeting that. However, for our philosophy, it's kind of like you go down the checklist of like, will this really help any audience? No. But then Jotapun came up with the idea of the tarot cards originally, but they were just like, hey, what if we did like kind of this mini game and you have like effort values and you spend it, maybe they're like cards or something. I said, all right, that's great. Tarot cards though. And he said, tarot card? What do you mean tarot card? What are we talking about? I'm like, listen, I'm telling you right now, 100%, no exaggeration, 100% of women love tarot cards. I'm going to prove this right now. And listen, I don't make the numbers here. I asked all of the female friends I could think of over Discord, and 100% of our studies show that women love tarot cards. 7 out of 7 women. So I'm just saying that we got our target audience perfect. But yeah, like decisions like that where there's smaller groups that aren't necessarily our target audience can still have like certain things kept in mind for them, or things like I'm sure cozy gamers like tarot cards. I'm sure RNG people love tarot cards. You know, the tarot cards in Balatro. That's awesome. But like, oh, we have this big chunk of our audience. Let's throw something at them as well that no other audience will feel like especially strong or objectionable about. And this will like super add to that as well. Yeah, those are all my side tangents for that answer.
No, thank you. That's really great one. I totally understand from a perspective of like you've got this sort of end thing that you're focused on, and everything is related to that. So I can completely understand that like this element also touches on this element, also touches on this element. Yeah, totally. Like, and something that I think is going to be really interesting is that I don't think I've ever seen a tarot card in a game that I can think of.
You've never played like Balatro or anything?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay, fun. Okay, awesome, cool.
Yeah, I should try it because like that sounds really fun. And I haven't used tarot cards in a long time, but I think it's going to be a really cool game mechanic. So I'm really excited to see how that plays, a role in what you can accomplish as a player in the game. And yeah, I think you touched on something really interesting of like how do we target several different people without the scope creeping at the same time. Like, we mentioned before that community management is such an important thing. And I love that you've got so much feedback from people. And so trying to kind of overlap this thing of like scope creep as well as trying to sort of sate the community. It has to be a bit of a Venn diagram, I would imagine. It'll be cool to see how that turns out. Kind of curious, do you guys have like a kind of a rough timeline for when you're thinking about having your MVP ready?
Sorry, no comment on that.
Oh, okay.
The only thing I will say is the only thing I've said publicly is we will hopefully be seeing cool visual stuff soon. Hopefully in the coming months. That's all I can say. When Is there going to be a demo? When's the demo going to come out? Will there be EA? Will we just release 1.0? Will that be this year? Will that be this century? I don't know. That's all I can say right now is that.
Yeah, no problem. I totally understand. It's like honestly, a lot of my life. When am I going to do this? I don't know. We'll find out.
Well,
And then the
I'll
public's
say
gonna know.
we have some ambitious timelines internally. I'm not revealing those.
No, that's totally fair. Well, and I do think that, I think about massive games as well when somebody announces like think about GTA. GTA 6 became a meme because it took so insanely long for development. So yeah, I mean, I guess it could be a strategy of marketing, but probably not one we want, right? So yeah, I can totally imagine. Yeah, I'm kind of curious. It sounds like when you were touching on some of these like mini games, that there's this sort of potential that maybe someday you'd want to kind of like expand on the story. Is that something that you're still kind of thinking about, or has that kind of been scrapped for other ideas, or is that kind of up in the air?
Sure. So I'll answer this more generally. Internal discussions on what SBD will look like pre 1.0 and past 1.0, and a lot of discussions on like depending on how successful it is, what do we want to do? If we only have it like be kind of a success, do we keep going with it? Do we just like completely drop out of game design and say, well, that was fun and have a nice life? Do we maybe try a different game or something like that? And so these are all discussions we've had. And so I will say I'll answer this in two parts. Number one, we are 100 million% dedicated to releasing this in 1.0. In our first article, we said, listen, there are no alternatives to this. The only alternative is bankruptcy. If we are not bankrupt, if we are making something, if we are planning on making another game, SPD will get a 1.0. That is a promise. Nothing else will happen other than us being insolvent. Okay, so that's thing number one. It will get a 1.0. What that 1.0 will look like, we'll figure it out and touch more on that. More on your question, rather, is what. I'm so sorry. Can I pause for a minute? Someone's knocking at my door real quick. I will be right back in 2.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Hello?
Awesome.
Okay,
Hello.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
That was a I just had a random encounter, dude. That was so random. Yeah, just some kids knocked on my door and asked if I had any snacks. They trick-or-treated on March 10th, dude. That's wild. Anyway.
Awesome.
What was it? Oh, yes. All right, back to I'm professional now. It's very professional community management. We have the 1.0. We talked about that. What does post 1.0 look like, and will we have a post 1.0? And what will we do? That's very up in the air. We don't know. We're open to everything. I've laid out, and Jodapon's laid out a lot of plans of, depending on how much success we have, depending on like what the community feedback is, what we add, what we do. Like I said, maybe after 1.0 we just do a different video game with like a shorter time span, or maybe with a longer time span, who knows? Or maybe we focus on like adding some cool things to post 1.0. Maybe SBD is like just close enough to like where we want it. Maybe we'll try like a 1.1, or maybe we're open to DLC. I'm not morally opposed to that. We have nothing against it. Like, anything can happen past 1.0. All I can guarantee is it'll get to 1.0, or we'll take it off the marketplace. Those are like the only two things. Like, or we'll completely abandon it and like completely go away, and you will never see me in video games again. Those are the only two options. Like I said, outside of that, we're very open to what can happen. And again, like, we don't even have a demo out yet, so if a lot of players say, hey, we want this feature, in my experience, in my training, I get that's weird to say. The way I was taught, the way I was taught to get feedback is based on these three things. Number one, how big of a community outcry is there? Number two, how easily solvable is this? And number three, how documented / replicable the problem is. So I give this example of like, oh, there's like an art glitch that's just like, it's not even a glitch. It's just like we put the arrow facing left and everyone keeps going to the left room and it's actually supposed to be facing right. Oh, oops, like there's a lot of outcry. You just take a screenshot of it. Oh, and we just turn the arrow. Okay, yeah, that's going to get patched immediately. No problem. But if there's like a lot of people saying, oh, we want to make SPD like an MMORPG. Okay, cool, but like if we don't have like 1 million players, like we can't do that. So yeah, I guess long story short, we're open to a lot of things. We'll see what happens.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it sounds really good. And I think that's a nice place to be in. Is that, yeah, not having shareholders that are, kind of monitoring every step of the way.
Sure.
Yeah, that definitely opens up a lot of freedom. So it'll be super exciting to see it. I'm definitely going to be one of your first players in 1.0. I'm really excited for that to come out.
Awesome.
Yeah, if there is one thing that you could really say to your target audience, to the people that you would love to play
Ooh.
Smithy by Day, what would you say?
What I want to say to my target audience, and what I want to say to anyone who might even be interested in this, is games in general, games posted on Steam, especially, that are pretty much every game you post online now is now a living game. So if you don't set the expectation that I'm just going to release this 1.0, it's going to be one thing. There might be some bugs we patch and then we're going to abandon it. You are, as an audience member, as a customer, you are entering into an unwritten contract that I'm going to come in and I want something that you've hinted at. I want something that eventually this is going to be 1.0, because if you ever release a game on Steam and it's not one, if it's like patch 0.7, everyone's going to be waiting for patch 1.0. And that requires a lot of trust nowadays. And I really hope that people can see, with especially what I've written, with how responsive we are and how responsive we'll continue to be, on how much our Discord grows. And I'm super responsive to DMs as well. It is very easy to find me, guys. It is not hard to get in contact with me. And how responsive, I remember, as a very stupid example, and I probably shouldn't say this publicly, but whatever. I have crypto and cryptocurrency as banned words in the Discord because we've had a few bots just say, hey, at everyone, go crypto, buy crypto, go to this cryptocurrency website. And so someone was talking about this video game that had cryptocurrency in the game, just like fake cryptocurrency in the game, and they got timed out for 24 hours. And within 5 minutes, I don't remember what I was doing. I was probably like in the shower or doing something. Within 5 minutes, I said, oh, yeah, let me, oh, no, I was in the middle of a Magic game. And I saw this, and I said, oh, yeah, let me fix this right after my Magic game. Before that happened, Jodapon messages me and says, like, oh, this guy got banned. Oh, yeah, let me fix that. And then he fixes that within 5 minutes. We're very responsive. We keep an eye on the Discord as well. And so, wrapping that all up, I hope, even if you're just a little interested in my vision, I hope you'll at least chill in the Discord and you'll give me I'm just asking for an ounce of trust, and keep verifying, keep BS testing me on this. Make sure I'm not like contradicting myself and stuff like that, and we'll answer questions and whatnot. And I hope that I can build this trust for you. And like I said in my article, our main goal, honestly, is to make a game that we enjoy, that myself and Jodapon enjoy. And how to say this, we're going to make that happen. We're going to balance the game a lot, but we're going to keep sharpening the blade. And I hope that we can build some trust together, and that y'all can hold me accountable when we're not doing what we said we do. But I don't think that's ever going to happen. But yeah. So long story short, trust us. Just give us an ounce of trust, and let's see where this goes together, guys, because I'm really excited with what we have so far. And it's been, as someone who got a super quick boot camp, super quick programming boot camp, and like getting super excited, like, oh my god, my square is going up, and I press a button and now it goes down, to like seeing the game I have in my head coming together and coming alive, from like Jodapon gives us like, oh yeah, like I've just been doing this for a week and this is what I got in. Like, it's blowing my mind. It's been awesome, and I'm super excited. I can't say anything just yet, but I'm super excited to be sharing stuff with you soon, and sharing more visual stuff instead of just like saying, hey, our forge is done, just trust me. Now, when you use a tarot card, it increases or decreases the time as well. It's cool. It's really cool. I promise, guys, it's really cool. I'd love to show that visual stuff as well. So come on this journey with us, guys. That's what I have to say.
Awesome. That sounds so cool. Well, I'll definitely, like I said, be around. And yeah, when you guys get close to a release, I know this might be a long time, so like there's literally no end date on this. When you guys do get closer to launch, feel free to contact me because we can always chat again and make more videos and talk about, things that have been developed in future tense.
Sure. Yeah, we have an internal list of. I just have it as a contributors channel, so I'll just put you on the list. When we have a demo, I'm gonna ping everyone on the Discord anyway. But yeah, I'll DM you as well.
Keeping an eye out. That's so great. Yeah, Discord I think has been one of the most surprise blessings of the 2010s and beyond. Awesome. Well, where can people find you if they want to know more about the game, about the development? We've got the Discord. What kind of other platforms are you present on?
SmithyByDay.com. That's like Smith, like blacksmith, but with a Y. So Smithy By BYDAY.com. SmithyByDay.com has everything. We have our Discord. We have some articles and stuff. And then I post stuff on Blue Sky and sometimes on Twitter as well. That's just reposts from like the Discord, and the Discord will have it. If you are on the Discord, you will see 100% of the stuff we do. Also, our most active channel usually is like your general chat. Our most active channel is actually an other games chat where people just recommend games and say, oh, there's this really cool game I play, or oh, this game sucks. And we just have a lot of positive stuff, a lot of like feedback for cool stuff. A big chunk of my community is kind of the automation game crowd. So a lot of like random automation games and automation adjacent stuff and sim games and stuff like that are there. So even if you have no interest in this game whatsoever, it's still a cool community to be around and to recommend games and to just see like what our take is. I will say like one of the last things I'll say is one of the biggest things you can do to support a game developer is wish lists are awesome. Buying the game, I can't make money if you don't buy the game. Buying the game is great. That's all great. Awesome. Like, retweet, whatever. That's all great. Leave a Steam review is the biggest thing you can do to help a game developer of any big, small, whatever. And it's also one of the biggest things you can do to hurt a game developer. So if you really hate the game and you can't, I have no recourse, leave a bad Steam review. Even if you might not get a refund, leave a bad Steam review. It will hurt sales as well. I promise you, it's really effective. And so with that, why I bring that up is a personal campaign of mine is to try to review. I've been failing at it. I've been doing this once every 2 months. I've been trying to do this once every month. It's to review a game. I really want to just review games I like to encourage mostly positivity. But if this won't mean anything to you probably, but to people inside the Discord, if y'all know the words DDS2, you know what I'm talking about. Some negativity there as well, but I want to review at least a game a month just to kind of foster that sense of, oh, there's cool stuff, get to know me as a person, but also to encourage people to review our game and to review other games on Steam, especially those like, obviously, if everyone reviews every game, maybe that might not help sales. But like, if you just focus on the games you really like or really dislike, that'll help a lot, and that'll do your little ounce of work to kind of at least shape the gaming space you wanted to push out the games, and maybe have someone like from the other side of the world play this random like, oh, this blacksmithing Dave the Diver combination weird thing. What the heck is this? And you get to push that out to a few more people or whatever games you feel passionately about. So yeah, I guess that's all. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much. That sounds great.
SmithyByDay.com. You'll find everything there. It's great. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Yeah. I'm really excited about the game because it's something that for me, even personally, I love. Like I played the crap out of Coral Island when I just was sick, but I really didn't enjoy it was very, 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 very easy. There was no challenge to that at all. So something that I liked about Stardew was that you actually have to go and do this other stuff.
Yeah. Really. To add a little philosophy point for like 30 seconds, what I really like about turn-based games and sim games is no matter what level of skill you are, you're still going to enjoy it. You're still going to beat the game. You're still going to get everything out of the game. But like someone really skilled, if you're a speedrunner, you're going to finish this obviously a lot faster. If you're really good at Sims, if you can kind of like figure stuff out a lot more, it's going to take you less time, less in-game days. You're going to get like, let's say you're not quite understanding the tarot card system, so maybe your swords are breaking a little bit more or stuff like that, but you're still going to get everything out of the game, and you still get a little bit of punishment, and you still get a little bit of reward from those systems. So that's kind of what we're aiming to, and that's kind of why I really like the turn-based as one of our tags and one of our core components of the game. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm super excited to try it out. So I'll be keeping an eye on yeah, all of the things as you're coming along. And yeah, I just wanted to thank you again
Yeah,
for
absolutely,
taking the time to
absolutely.
chat with me. I'm so excited to yeah see what's going on with the team, and as you guys progress, yeah, I'll definitely be peeping those updates.
And eventually we'll let y'all know when the Steam page is, and that's all I can say. If you want to test, it should not be hard for you to test and give feedback. So if y'all want to follow for testing, let me know. As long as you have pings allowed on the Discord, though, it should be fine as well. And like that for you as well. If you want to test, or if anyone wants to test, that's an option that will be available to y'all at some point.
Anything else that you'd like to add before we head off into our respective times?
Um, I can leave an overall message. Maybe this is. I feel like we kind of climaxed 20 minutes before I wanted to, because I had a sick overall message that I wanted to say. So feel free to cut this out or whatever. But
Sure.
I want to shout out a YouTube channel actually called Alpha Investments. He kind of does trading card collecting, like so trading cards as an asset instead of like playing them. And this is completely irrelevant, but he does a lot of financial advice, and he says something. One of the things he says is something along the lines of like, typically when you do, like, people who are successful at small businesses, what they'll do is, instead of like, oh, I have this great idea, like I majored in it, I have this great idea, I followed my dream, I dropped everything, and now like I've made it. Typically that's not what happens. You kind of like, you try a hobby, that's not, yeah, sure, it's a hobby, whatever, that's fine. You try another thing. Oh, now I start, like, for example, I met this guy that like his mom said, oh, today we're going to make soap, and he found this passion of making soap randomly, and then he started making soap just for fun, and then he gave it to his friends, and his friends really liked it, and then he gave it to more friends and their friends and their friends, and they really liked it. And it was this slow buildup. It wasn't that you just drop everything and now you're like an international corporation and now like you fully live off your dream. So why I'm saying this is, if this, for whatever reason, or just in general, if you're thinking about following your dreams, if you're thinking about starting your own business or starting your own creative endeavor, whatever it is, and you think, oh man, like I need to drop everything, I don't think I'm ready for, you don't need to. You can dip your toes into pretty much everything. You don't need to put up a lot of money. You don't need to put up a lot of time. You don't need to be crazy like Jodapon, who's insane and just said, all right, I'm going to do this full time. Like, SPD will take less time because Jodapon's doing this full time, but it still would work if we added a few years to the development cycle and we all just worked on it a few days a week. It's fine to just do your dream just a little bit, to have that hobby that you really want to transition into a full-time income, maybe doing that hobby one day a week or something, or maybe doing it like a few hours a day after work. It doesn't need to be this black and white, I need to drop everything, I hate my job, I'm just going to completely like abandon it. I'm not a fan of like, oh, you should have a safety net type thing, but also you don't need to jump off a cliff to accomplish your dreams. You can just dip your toes into the water, and that's perfectly fine to do. And I've definitely jumped off a cliff a few times to follow my dreams, but for SPD specifically, right now I'm just I'm somewhere in between dipping my toes in and like being fully submerged. I have like my ankles in. I work on SBD maybe 10 to 12-ish hours a week. And I have the time to do it. It's still not, how to say, it's still not fully like just diving off a cliff, like I said, but like it's also still a significant amount. And this didn't come out of nowhere. It wasn't just like I went from 0 to, oh, now I'm going to like take essentially like 2 work days to do this. It was kind of a slow buildup. It was a lot of planning as well. It was a lot of finding other people. And yeah, like I said, you don't need to go all in. You can just try it. And also, on the other side, you don't need to go all in to figure out if you have this vision and you're not sure if you're going to enjoy it. You can just do something 1 day a week. There's like a bunch of like, if you want to be a master chef, but you're not sure if you like it, you can just take a cooking class. And if you hate the cooking class, you're probably going to hate being a master chef. If you want to like make a video game, maybe you can try like designing a board game, like I said. And if you hate that, you're probably going to hate like designing and maybe try something else that's like adjacent to it. You don't need to, oh, I'm just going to like spam applications to like AAA game developers. And then after you get the job, after a week, you've moved to LA and now you want to move back. You don't have to do that. Yeah. So I guess that's the overall side tangent message I wanted to leave as well. I think I've covered everything. SmithyByDay.com, guys. Join the Discord. Eventually there will be a Steam page. But if you're in the Discord, you will see 100% of the stuff. It is super easy to find me online. Message me wherever you're comfortable, or don't message me, whatever. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever. That's all I have for y'all today. Thank you.